Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and to the second in the series of 4 videos on my perfect day in the Disney parks. And today we're going to be going to Hollywood Studios, and I feel like there's so much more to do in this park than there used to be. I used to have fairly short days there, but there's a lot going on now, so I'm going to take you through the whole day from arriving, everything that I would do, which attractions I would do, in what order, and all of that kind of thing, the same as we did for Epcot last week. So let's get straight into it. And the first thing I would be doing is getting myself to the park in the least stressful way possible, as I said in the last one. Hopefully I would be staying at one of the resorts on the Skyliner route, because that's a really easy way to get to Hollywood Studios. The Skyliner stop is right there at the entrance to the park, so if I was staying at Pop Century or somewhere like that, I would definitely get the Skyliner. Otherwise you can of course get a bus, or you can get an Uber, and the Uber stop, it certainly used to be anyway, right at the park entrance, so that's one of the best parks to get an Uber because you are pretty much right there. But probably Skyliner, that's how I would hope I'd be arriving. And of course one thing to bear in mind with Hollywood Studios is to try and get yourself your Rise of the Resistance boarding group. So this is one of the only parks you need to think about something like this at the moment, and you can actually get your boarding group now ahead of time before the park opens. I believe it's from 7 AM, so you can log on to the My Disney Experience app and try and get that boarding group. Now you do have to try and do that straight away. I don't know kind of how it's played out over the last few months, but certainly last time I was there, trying to get a Rise of the Resistance boarding group was not easy. They would be gone within seconds of being made available, so you really do need to be on that, try and get your boarding group. Rise of the Resistance is just the most incredible attraction, so it's really worth being awake early trying to get that boarding group. So we will have already done that obviously. So usually the first thing I would do is go and get my coffee. Now this is one of the parks where I don't think I would do that first. The main reason being there are a lot of headline attractions in this park that get very long lines, so it really is worth going straight for an attraction in this park and then thinking about things like your coffee afterwards. I know that's weird coming from me, normally coffee is very high on the agenda, but in this case we're going to go for an attraction. And on this particular occasion I would go over to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which I always find really hard to say. I haven't actually ridden that attraction yet. I missed it by one day when I was there in March 2020. It literally opened the day after I had got home, which was such a bummer. So I would head there, do that first. The line can get very long for it. It's just as you get into the park as well. Plus it's one of the newer attractions, so I would definitely go and do that. Now as we know at the moment, since the pandemic and everything, fast passes are not available, but again we're going to assume this is a regular kind of day and we still have fast passes. So for now I'm going to go and head for coffee. We're going to assume that we got our fast pass for our other attractions. So I would head slightly back towards the entrance to go to the Starbucks location, which is called the Trolley Car Cafe. Love getting my Starbucks from there, and I also would get a Napoleon for my breakfast. Those are so good. Not really a breakfast food if I'm totally honest, kind of more sweet and sticky, but still, we're on vacation, so don't judge me. I would have that for my breakfast. And they have some tables just around the corner behind there, so I would sit there, have that, just do a bit of people watching. I've got to have my coffee really before I fully get going with park day. So once we've done that, I think it would be time to head over to Toy Story Land, and hopefully I would have a fast pass for Slinky Dog Dash. That's what I would choose to get my fast pass for on this particular day. So whether or not that had come around yet, if it was time to ride it, I would obviously ride that first. If it wasn't, then I would get in line for Toy Story Mania, which is such an awesome ride. Toy Story Mania has actually been there a lot longer than Toy Story Land. It used to be the entrance was kind of facing the other way before they built all of the extra stuff they have now. But the ride has always been great. I absolutely love it. It's really good if you're competitive. Whenever I'm traveling, whether it's with Ian or Becky or Kate, obviously we're always competing to see who can win, but it is really good fun. So I'd ride those two attractions, whichever order it was in, depending what time my fast pass was. And once I've done that, I would head through to Galaxy's Edge. Now we're assuming, again because this is a perfect day, that I was able to get a boarding group. Now the hard part about this is I don't know what time I would get called for my boarding group, so we're gonna just worry about that later. But we're gonna head into Galaxy's Edge. You can actually walk through from Toy Story Land directly into Galaxy's Edge, and probably first up I would go and get in the single rider line to ride Millennium Falcon, which is really really, really good fun. It's a great attraction. You actually get assigned a position on that ride. You can be pilot or gunner, and there's engineer, I think, as well. And with pilots, I actually feel really anxious about that because I feel like I could ruin it for my fellow passengers if I'm not very good at it. So I actually prefer being one of the other positions on that attraction, but it is really fun. And if you ride in the single rider line, just bear in mind that you could get separated from the rest of your party and you would then be on the attraction with other people. I never mind that. I would rather have a shorter wait and be able to do that, but obviously you could get in the standby line depending how long it is. So once I've done that, I think I would just have a bit of a general browse around the area, go in some of the stores. Galaxy's Edge is great for browsing because the merchandise is unique to that area. As we were saying with Epcot and the World Showcase, most of the stuff you see, it's not going to be your regular kind of Disney items that you see in other stores. It is all Star Wars themed, which is really good. And once we've had a bit of a browse around, I think then it would definitely be time for Ogre's Cantina, which I would have made an ADR ahead of time. So at the moment you can make your ADRs 60 days out, and I would highly recommend making one for Ogre's Cantina. It kind of seems a little weird because most of the time with ADRs you think of like sit down restaurants. This is more like a bar. They do have a few like snack items that they do, but ultimately it's mainly for drinks. But it's quite a small location. It gets very, very busy in there, so I would highly recommend trying to get an ADR. And Ogre's Cantina is one of the best themed bars in Disney World. If you're a Star Wars fan, you're definitely going to want to check it out. It's really, really good fun. The drinks they have are really unusual, and they do have a lot of mocktails as well, which have some kind of interesting elements to them, because I know not everybody wants to drink alcohol, particularly in the morning or in the middle of the day. Obviously you do have that option as well. You can also get coffee and stuff in there, so whatever you like to drink, you know, everybody can find something they like, but it's just very, very well themed, so definitely check that out. I can highly, highly recommend it. So once I was done there, I'd probably just do a little bit more browsing, make sure I've kind of taken everything in the area. We're going to assume our Rise of the Resistance is a bit later, so we're going to come back for that. I'm not going to assume that I got, you know, the earliest boarding group of the day. So we're going to head out of Galaxy's Edge once we've had a good look around, and while we're in the area I would definitely ride Star Tours. I may or may not have a fast pass for it, but usually the line isn't too bad. It's obviously been there a lot longer than Galaxy's Edge and all of the newer stuff, but it's really, really good fun. So I would ride that, and then probably Muppet Vision 3D again is very close by. Muppet Vision 3D is very vintage. I happen to love it. I think it's absolutely great. I think the Muppets are really underrepresented in the parks, so I love that they do have their own attraction over there, and it's like super cheesy and stuff, but I really love it, so I would definitely do that. And you very rarely have to wait any considerable amount of time. It might be that a show has just gone in, but they have like a pre-show and stuff, and it doesn't take too long at all to do that. So by this point we're going to assume that it could be around lunchtime, I'm thinking. By the time I've done all those attractions, done all of Galaxy's Edge, and definitely my lunch location of choice would be Sci-Fi Dine-In Theatre. I love this restaurant. It's one of my absolute favourites in all of Walt Disney World. The theming is just great. You feel like you're outside at a drive-in. You actually sit in a car as well, which is very, very cool, and you can watch all of the old movie clips that just kind of go around on a loop, and it's just really, really unique. The atmosphere is great. The food is kind of fitting to the theme. It's like burgers and milkshakes and stuff. They do have other things. It's not just burgers and fries, and I think they've got vegan options and stuff as well, but it's really great, and I have to try and go there every time. At the moment it does seem to be quite difficult to get a reservation there, so if you are making your reservations I would prioritise Sci-Fi Dine-In, because it really can be quite tricky to get a reservation at the moment. So that's one I would put towards the top of your list if you're wondering which ones you should do first for your vacation. 100% I would eat lunch there. So after lunch you don't necessarily want to be riding attractions right away, so this would be a great time for me to head back towards the main entrance and go into the stores they have over there. So they have Mickey's of Hollywood and the Five and Dime, which are on opposite sides of the street as you walk into the park, and those are the two kind of biggest stores I would say at Hollywood Studios where you can shop for all of the merch you might be looking for, whether it's clothing or magic bands, phone cases, mugs and homeware and all that kind of thing. And Mickey's of Hollywood has kind of toys and plushes and all of that kind of thing in there. as well as loads of other things. So I would take my time to have a good look around there. And what I do next would kind of depend on who I'm traveling with, because there's another couple of attractions in Hollywood Studios that I personally don't love doing, but I know that LeeAnn does, and some of my other friends who I travel with would like to do them, which is of course Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster. So let's assume I am traveling with someone who would want to do those attractions. We would head for those attractions so they could ride them either in the single rider line, or maybe if they had a fast pass or something. And I would take the opportunity to do some more shopping, because they do have some great stores in that area. One of my favourites is the one that has all of the fashion items, and they have a big Pandora section, so I would definitely be able to keep myself entertained in there. And across the street they have a store which sells all of the Pixar items, and they have like clothing and everything in there. So if you love Pixar, you're definitely going to want to go in there as well. So while they're riding the rides, I would definitely be doing that and having a good look around there. So let's assume now it's going to be time for our Rise of the Resistance boarding group, which is definitely the most exciting part of the day. So we're going to head back to Galaxy's Edge to ride Rise of the Resistance. And what do I even say about this attraction? I've only ridden it once. LeeAnn and I were there for opening day. If you've watched that vlog, I will link it and put up a card. It was the craziest day. We were literally there in the middle of the night. We were sat under a bridge. It was freezing cold because it was December, for hours, and we were outside the park for hours, and we eventually rode it at, I don't know, maybe 5:30 in the morning or something. We ended up being one of the first few people to be called to ride it when we got our boarding group, and that's the one and only time I've done it. When I travelled in February and March last year, I couldn't get a boarding group. It was still very popular and it was very busy. So I cannot wait to ride that attraction again. It just blew my mind. It really is something else. It's unlike anything else in any of the parks in Orlando, and probably anywhere, to be honest. It's a very long attraction. Some of it feels like kind of pre-show in the queuing area, but it all merges into one, so that's what makes it feel so long. The actual ride part towards the end is only kind of half of the experience, and it's just completely mind-blowing. It's amazing and I absolutely love it. So that would definitely be the most exciting part of the day, is to ride Rise of the Resistance. And once I've done that, I think I would head back into Toy Story Land to ride Alien Swirling Saucers, which is a super cute ride. It's actually a really good family kind of attraction, because while it's not a thrill ride, it is actually really good fun. You do get spun around quite a lot. Everyone seems to enjoy it, so I'd definitely go and do that. So at this point, I feel like I would be getting towards the end of my day at Hollywood Studios. One thing I would like to do, if it was possible, would be to go and see the Beauty and the Beast show. Now, at the moment, shows are kind of not happening in most of the parks. But again, we're imagining this is the perfect day. So I'm just going to assume it's still there for now. And that's definitely something I would want to do before I left Hollywood Studios. I love that show. It's like a condensed version of the movie, but I think it's a very high quality production. It's amazing. And the other thing is, it would land us right outside Hollywood Scoops, which is one of my favourite ice cream places in Hollywood Studios, and we definitely haven't done enough snacking today. So I would go and get an ice cream from there afterwards and eat that as I walk towards the exit of the park. And the reason we're exiting before we think about eating dinner or anything is because I generally don't tend to eat dinner at Hollywood Studios. I usually will go over towards the boardwalk and eat something there, because I would have already eaten at Sci-Fi Dine-In, which is my favourite table service place. I think there's probably places I would prefer over in that direction. So I would head out of the park and onto the boat, which will take you over towards the boardwalk and Swan and Dolphin and Yacht and Beach Club. And that whole area is great. If it's towards the end of the day, it's so nice just walking around that area, walking around the lake, maybe going in and out of some of the resorts to have a look around. It's just a great place to be. Really relaxing if you've been for a day in the parks. So I would definitely do that. And I think for dinner, which we're going to assume I'm able to eat, even though I did eat ice cream, but hopefully that's fine, I would probably go to Ale and Compass at the Yacht Club, which is one of my favourite places to eat in that whole area. It's not a signature restaurant, but to me it actually does feel a little bit more high-end. But the food they have is not super fancy, but it's really nice. They have great flatbreads there, which is what I really like to get. So I 100% would round out my day by having dinner there. And that's perfect, because when I'm done, I can just walk right outside and get myself an Uber back to my resort at the end of the day. So that would be my perfect day at Hollywood Studios. Now, there's a lot of things we were assuming there, because like I was saying, there's no fast pass at the moment and some shows are not happening and stuff, but I just wanted to take you through how I would do a day in the parks. And actually a lot of the comments I got on the last video when we did Epcot, a lot of you could guess what I was going to say, because you've watched so many of the vlogs, you kind of already knew in your head how I would do things. So let me know in the comments, did you know what I was going to say next? Did you know what things I was going to do? Probably yes, because I'm a bit predictable with things I like to do in the parks. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. It helps other people to find the video. And I hope you enjoyed spending the day, even though it was only in theory, with me at Hollywood Studios. And as always, I just want to say a huge thank you for continuing to support me by watching the channel, watching the vlogs, supporting over on Patreon, liking, commenting, subscribing, everything that you guys do. You really are awesome, and I hope you're all staying safe and well and hanging in there. So I hope you guys are having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.